You're hiding in a cave 50,000 years ago. Outside, footsteps, not your tribe. Different, broader, stronger. Your heart pounds as a shadow fills the entrance. This is the moment that will rewrite your DNA forever. In 2010, the Max Planck Institute dropped a bombshell. Your genome contains 2% Neanderthal DNA. Not theory, genetic fact. Those encounters in ancient caves weren't just contact. They were intimate. They were forbidden. They changed everything. Tonight, we're entering the world where two human species collided in the most primal way possible. You'll witness the first forbidden attraction, the secret offspring, the jealous violence, the genetic gamble that gave you immunity, intelligence, and perhaps madness. 14 chapters, 0 censorship. The relationship that created you. You're standing in Europe 100,000 years before the birth of Christ. This continent belongs to them. The Neanderthals. They've owned these forests, these caves, these frozen rivers for 300,000 years. Longer than modern humans have existed. This is their planet. You're the alien here. The Ice Age has carved Europe into a brutal masterpiece. Glaciers stretch from Scandinavia down to modern Germany. Between the ice and the Mediterranean, a narrow band of survival exists. Pine forests, steppes thick with mammoth herds, cave systems that offer shelter from winters that can kill in hours. The Neanderthals know every cave, every hunting ground, every water source that doesn't freeze. They've perfected this world. Their populations cluster in key territories. Spain and Portugal in the west, France and Germany in the center, Italy hugging the Mediterranean warmth, the Balkans stretching toward the east. Small bands of 10 to 30 individuals. Never more than a few thousand Neanderthals alive at any moment across the entire continent. They don't need large numbers. They're apex predators, built for this ice world. Designed by 300,000 years of evolution to dominate it. But 70,000 years ago, something changes. In Africa, a different human species is evolving. Homo sapiens. You, us. Lighter build. Weaker bones. Less cold adapted. But something in our brains is different. We're creating art, complex language, long-distance trade networks. We're thinking in ways Neanderthals don't. And we're about to leave Africa. The migration begins slowly. Small groups crossing the Red Sea into the Arabian Peninsula, following coastlines, chasing game herds. We don't know we're heading toward occupied territory. We don't know another human species exists. We just know there's land ahead, resources, space to grow. By 60,000 years ago, we've reached the Middle East, the Levant, modern-day Israel, Lebanon, Syria. This is the boundary zone. Neanderthal territory overlaps with our expanding range. The climate here is warmer than Ice Age Europe. Both species can survive here. Both species want the same caves, the same hunting grounds, the same water sources. The first sightings must have been shocking. Imagine tracking a deer for hours. You finally corner it near a cliff. You raise your spear. Then you see them across the ravine. Humans. But not your humans. Broader, heavier, skin pale like snow, hair red like fire, faces that push forward in ways yours doesn't. eyes that lock onto yours with intelligence that's unmistakable. This is not an animal. This is not your tribe. This is something in between. For weeks, maybe months, the two groups watch each other, keeping distance, neither attacking, neither approaching. The Neanderthals see these strange, thin humans with dark skin and unfamiliar tools. We see these powerful ice-adapted beings who move through cold like it's nothing. Fear keeps us apart. Curiosity pulls us together. Resources force the decision. A drought hits. Water sources dry up. Only one spring remains. Both groups need it. Someone has to make first contact. A young Neanderthal woman approaches with empty hands. A Sapiens man does the same. They meet at the water's edge. No shared language. Just gestures. Just eye contact. Just the universal human recognition that we're looking at something like us. That moment changes everything. Not because of politics. Not because of strategy. But because of something simpler, something more dangerous. Attraction wasn't supposed to happen. The genetic distance between Neanderthals and Sapiens was like the distance between humans and chimpanzees. Different species, separated by 500,000 years of evolution. Yet it did happen, and we need to understand why. Everything you think you know about Neanderthals is wrong. The caveman stereotype, the grunting brute, the evolutionary dead end too stupid to survive. All lies. The evidence tells a different story. A story that makes what happened between our species even more disturbing. Because they weren't animals. They were people. Start with their brains. Neanderthal cranial capacity averaged 1,500 cubic centimeters. Ours averages 1,350. Their brains were 10% larger than ours. They had more computational power inside their skulls than we do. But here's the catch. Brain size doesn't equal intelligence. It equals potential. What matters is how you use it. And that's where the differences emerge. Neanderthals buried their dead. We've found graves across Europe. Bodies positioned carefully. Stone tools placed beside them. Flowers arranged around the corpses. They understood death. They felt grief. They believed something came after. That's not instinct. That's philosophy. That's spirituality. That's consciousness wrestling with mortality. They made jewelry. Pierced shells strung together. Eagle talons worn as necklaces. Red ochre powder used to paint their bodies. This isn't survival behavior. This is self-expression. This is saying I am here and I matter. They had aesthetics. They had identity. They had culture. They cared for their disabled. We found Neanderthal skeletons with healed fractures that would have been fatal without help. Broken legs that took months to heal. Missing teeth that made eating impossible alone. Someone fed them. Someone protected them while they recovered. That's compassion. That's love. That's choosing community over survival efficiency. But they were also different in ways that would have been immediately visible. Their bodies were built for power. 30% more muscle mass than Sapiens. Bones twice as thick. Shoulder joints designed for close-range spear thrusts. They hunted megafauna by running directly at it. Getting close enough to stab. That requires strength we don't have. Courage we can barely imagine. Their faces pushed forward. The classic Neanderthal profile. Large noses adapted to warm, freezing air before it hit their lungs. Prominent brow ridges shading their eyes from ice glare. No chin like we have. Faces that were undeniably human, but unmistakably other. Red hair was common. Pale skin to maximize vitamin D in low-light Ice Age Europe. If you saw one, you'd know instantly this wasn't your species. But would you find them attractive? That's the question that haunts anthropologists. Attraction is partially cultural, but partially hardwired. Symmetry matters. Youth matters. Health indicators matter. Neanderthals had all three. They were muscular, which signals strength. They had clear skin and bright eyes, which signal health. They were exotic, which triggers novelty-seeking in our brains. The biological machinery for attraction existed. Could they speak? This is where the debate gets heated. Neanderthals had the FOXP gene, the same gene that gives us complex language. They had hyoid bones positioned like ours, the throat anatomy for articulated speech. But did they use language the way we do? To tell stories? To plan futures? To seduce with words? We don't know. The evidence says maybe. Maybe they could whisper promises in the dark. Now compare them to early sapiens. We were lighter, built for endurance, not power. We couldn't outmuscle a Neanderthal, but we could outrun them. We could chase prey for hours until it collapsed from exhaustion. Different strategy, different body. We had longer legs, narrower hips, less robust skeletons. We looked fragile compared to them, but fragile can be attractive too. Delicate, graceful. Different. Our advantages were social. Sapiens traveled in larger groups. 50 to 150 individuals. We maintained relationships across vast distances, trade networks stretching hundreds of miles. When we invented something, it spread. When Neanderthals invented something, it stayed local. Their bands were isolated. Innovations died with them. We were connected. And connection breeds rapid cultural evolution. But here's what matters most. Both species pair bonded. Both formed long-term relationships. Both invested in raising children together. Both felt jealousy, desire, attachment. The emotional architecture for love existed in both. We weren't just genetically compatible enough to produce offspring. We were psychologically compatible enough to want to. So imagine this. You're a sapiens man. You've been traveling for months with your small band. You're exhausted, lonely, homesick. You enter a cave and find a Neanderthal woman. She's alone too. Maybe her band died. Maybe she was exiled. Maybe she's just hunting. She's strong in a way your women aren't. Exotic in a way that makes your heart race. She looks at you with those eyes and you see recognition. Not animal awareness. Human recognition. She sees you too. Attraction wasn't supposed to happen. The genetic distance was like human-chimp. Yet it did. And some scientists still refuse to call it consensual. We'll examine both sides. But first, we need to understand how these two species survived. Because survival created the conditions where forbidden became possible. Survival in the Ice Age doesn't allow for prejudice. You work together or you die. Simple math. And when two human species occupy the same territory, that math forces collaboration nobody planned for. working side by side, sharing kills, saving lives. In this world, gratitude becomes something more, something neither species anticipated. Hunting is the first bridge between them. Neanderthals are ambush specialists. They study prey patterns for weeks, identify the trails, find the bottlenecks where animals can't escape. Then they wait. When a bison passes, they explode from hiding. Close-range spear thrust directly into the lungs. It requires perfect timing, absolute courage. One mistake and you're trampled to death. But it works. It's worked for 300,000 years. Sapiens hunt differently. We use persistence. We track animals for hours, days sometimes. We don't need to get close. We just need to keep them moving, keep them running, never let them rest. Eventually their muscles flood with lactic acid. Eventually they collapse from exhaustion. Then we move in. It requires endurance, teamwork across vast distances, strategic thinking, different method, same result, dead meat. But some prey is too dangerous for either species alone. Cave bears, adult mammoths, woolly rhinos. These animals can kill you with one swipe. Hunting them requires numbers, coordination, risk distribution. When a sapiens band encounters a Neanderthal group near a mammoth herd, someone makes a decision. Attack together, split the meat, survive. The first joint hunt is awkward. No shared language, gestures and demonstrations. The Neanderthals show their ambush positions. Sapiens show their herding patterns. They combine tactics. Sapiens drive the mammoth toward the ambush. Neanderthals deliver the killing strikes. It works. The mammoth falls. Both groups eat. Both groups remember. Next time is easier. Tool technology becomes the second bridge. Neanderthals invented the lever-war technique, a method of stone knapping that produces identical razor-sharp flakes from a single core. It's elegant, efficient, requires three-dimensional spatial thinking. Sapiens learn it by watching. We're excellent mimics. We copy the technique. We improve it. We add hafting methods that make spears more durable. Knowledge flows both ways. Fire mastery is Neanderthal expertise. They've been using fire for 400,000 years. They know which wood burns hottest, which produces least smoke inside caves, how to bank coals overnight so fire never dies. They understand fire chemistry in ways we're still learning. A sapiens group struggling with wet wood in a rainstorm sees Neanderthal smoke rising from a nearby cave. They approach. They ask without words. The Neanderthals share, because refusing means someone freezes, and frozen corpses don't trade. Shelter construction teaches mutual respect. Neanderthals build inside caves, but they enhance them. Rock walls to block wind. Leather hides stretched across openings. Fire pits positioned for optimal heat distribution. Sapiens build more temporary structures. Wooden frames, hide coverings, mobile shelters we can dismantle and carry. When both groups occupy the same valley, they observe each other's techniques. They borrow ideas. Stone walls appear in sapiens camps. Mobile elements appear in Neanderthal caves. Food preservation is survival arithmetic. You can't eat an entire mammoth before it rots. Both species smoke meat. Both use cold storage in ice pockets. But Neanderthals have techniques learned from hundreds of thousands of winters. They know which berries dry best, which roots store longest, which plants prevent spoilage. A Sapiens woman watches a Neanderthal woman pack meat in specific leaves. She tries it. It works better. Next week they're working side by side, teaching through demonstration, learning through observation. Medicine is where pure science meets desperate need. Neanderthals are pharmaceutical pioneers. We've found evidence they used willow bark for pain, chamomile for digestion, yarrow to stop bleeding. They didn't have chemistry. They had 300,000 years of trial and error. A Sapiens child develops fever. His mother has seen Neanderthals gather specific mushrooms. She doesn't know why, but she's desperate. She tries. The fever breaks. Next time she needs medicine, she knows where to go, who to ask. This is how barriers collapse. Not through politics, not through grand decisions, through daily necessity, through small moments of cooperation that accumulate into something bigger. You hunt together, you share fire, you teach each other survival secrets, you save each other's lives. And after months of this, you're not strangers anymore. You're partners. You're allies. You're familiar. Remember those overlapping territories from earlier? This is where daily survival forces them together. Morning after morning. Sunset after sunset. Seasons passing. Children growing. And somewhere in that routine, familiarity becomes comfort. Comfort becomes trust. Trust becomes something more dangerous. Something biology didn't plan for but couldn't prevent. Because humans, regardless of species, are wired to bond with those who keep them alive. In a band of 20 people, everyone is your cousin. Your second cousin. Your third cousin once removed. You've known every person since birth. You know their smell, their footsteps, their breathing patterns in sleep. There are no strangers, no mysteries, no genetic diversity. Then someone different appears, and everything you thought you understood about family explodes. Sapiens' social structure is built on Dunbar's number. 150 maximum stable relationships. But most bands travel in groups of 50 to 100. Large enough for division of labor, small enough to maintain cohesion. You have hunters, gatherers, tool makers, hide processors, child care specialists. The work distributes efficiently, but the genetic pool is shallow. After 3 generations in an isolated band, everyone is related. Neanderthals operate smaller, 10 to 30 individuals maximum, often less. Archaeological sites show consistent group sizes. Small caves, small kill sites, small numbers. This isn't weakness, it's adaptation. In Ice Age Europe, resources cluster. One valley has game. The next valley has nothing. Supporting large groups is impossible. So they stay small, stay mobile, stay alive. But small groups mean tight genetics. Neanderthal DNA shows evidence of inbreeding, not by choice, by necessity. When your entire band is 12 people and 6 are children, mate options are limited. You breed with cousins or you don't breed at all. This creates vulnerability. Recessive genes express Genetic disorders amplify. Immune systems weaken. They needed fresh DNA desperately. They just didn't know it. Mate selection in both species follows patterns. Females choose based on resources and protection. Males compete based on hunting success and status. But there's also individual preference, chemistry, personality compatibility. The archaeological record shows long-term pair bonding in both species. Graves where couples are buried together, shared living spaces, evidence of fidelity and commitment. Love existed. It wasn't just breeding. It was partnership. Female choice matters more than people realize. In both Neanderthals and Sapiens, females select mates. Males compete, but females decide. A Neanderthal woman can reject every male in her band. She can choose not to breed. Or she can choose the strange dark-skinned Sapiens, the man who appeared last summer. The one who brings gifts. Who respects boundaries. Who looks at her like she's the first woman he's ever seen. That choice changes everything. Male competition drives violence and innovation simultaneously. When resources are scarce, males fight for reproductive access. But when options expand, strategy shifts. Why fight your bandmate when there are females from other bands? Why risk injury competing locally when you can explore regionally? The stranger becomes opportunity. The exotic becomes advantage. Outsider integration is normally impossible. Band dynamics are rigid. Everyone knows their role, their relationships, their history. Introducing a stranger disrupts everything. They don't know the signals, the inside jokes, the shared trauma. They're always other. But in survival contexts, otherness becomes valuable. The stranger knows different hunting grounds, different tool techniques, different medicinal plants. Their knowledge compensates for their strangeness. The stranger allure operates on multiple levels. Psychologically, novelty triggers dopamine. We're wired to notice difference, to explore the unfamiliar. Genetically, outcrossing produces healthier offspring. Hybrid vigor, immune system diversity. Evolutionary biology rewards breeding outside your group. But socially, stranger attraction is dangerous. It threatens band cohesion, creates jealousy, splits loyalties. Imagine the scenario. A young Neanderthal woman lives in a band of 15. 5 are children. 5 are elderly. The remaining 5 adult males are her father, her brothers, and her cousins. She's supposed to breed with a cousin. It's expected, normal, safe. But she's seen the Sapiens band camping to valleys over. She's watched them from hiding. One of their males keeps looking back, like he knows she's watching, like he's waiting. She has a choice: breed with her cousin and produce children who might inherit genetic weaknesses, or risk everything for the stranger, the one who makes her heart race in ways her cousin never has, the one whose DNA is so different it might kill her children through incompatibility, or might make them stronger than either species alone. In tight genetic pools, outsiders aren't just attractive, they're biological salvation. And when salvation arrives wearing the face of another species, biology doesn't care about species boundaries. It cares about survival. It cares about the next generation. And the next generation is about to become something neither species planned for. She watches him carve symbols into bone. He's creating meaning from nothing. Her people don't do this. It's beautiful. It's terrifying. It's irresistible. Because attraction isn't just physical. Sometimes it's watching someone think in ways you never imagined possible. Neanderthal technology is ancient, effective but static. The Mousterian tool industry, hand axes, scrapers, spear points. These designs are 200,000 years old. They work. They've always worked. Why change perfection? A Neanderthal child learns to nab stone by watching elders. They replicate exact techniques, precise angles, traditional forms. Innovation happens, but slowly, glacially. One improvement per 1,000 years. Sapiens technology explodes. We invent the atlatl, a spear thrower that triples throwing distance. We invent fish hooks, needles with eyes, rope, net weaving, art, musical instruments. Every generation brings new tools, new techniques, new ideas that spread like wildfire through our trade networks. We're not smarter than Neanderthals. We're more connected, and connection accelerates innovation exponentially. The difference terrifies and fascinates Neanderthals. They watch sapiens camps from hiding. They see us painting on cave walls, creating images of animals that aren't there, representing reality with pigment and imagination. This is symbolic thinking, abstract representation. The ability to hold one thing in your mind while looking at another. Neanderthals can do this. They have the brain capacity, but they don't. Their culture doesn't emphasize it, doesn't value it, doesn't transmit it. Language is the hidden variable. Neanderthals can speak. The anatomy is there, but do they speak like we do? Can they tell stories about yesterday and tomorrow simultaneously? Can they describe hypothetical scenarios? Can they gossip about people not present? These abilities require specific cognitive flexibility. We have it. They might not. Or they might have it, but use it differently. We don't know. But the difference shows in their archaeology. Sapiens camps have art everywhere. Beads, carvings, decorated tools, personal ornamentation. We're signaling identity constantly. I am me. I am different from you. I belong to this group. I have this status. Neanderthals have ornaments too, but fewer, simpler. Less emphasis on individual identity. More emphasis on practical function. To different approaches to being human. What fascinates each species about the other cuts both ways. Neanderthals see sapiens creating magic, turning stone into stories, bone into meaning. It's cognitive sorcery. Some Neanderthals want to learn it. They approach sapiens camps. They watch. They try to copy. And here's the proof. We found Neanderthal-made jewelry dated exactly to the contact period. Shell beads identical to sapiens' designs. They weren't inventing this independently. They were copying us. Why? To impress us. Sapiens see something different in Neanderthals. Stability, deep knowledge, mastery of the environment. We're innovative but scattered. They're traditional but expert. A sapiens hunter struggles to track prey in snow. A Neanderthal reads tracks like language. Knows exactly when the animal passed, how injured it was, where it's heading. That's 300,000 years of accumulated wisdom. You can't innovate that. You have to inherit it. And suddenly the strange, pale human with the robust face isn't primitive. They're sophisticated in ways we're not. Intellectual attraction is real. Humans are drawn to competence, to mastery, to minds that work differently than ours. A Neanderthal woman watches a sapiens, a man, create a fishing net from plant fibers. She's never seen this technology. It's genius. It's efficient. It changes everything about food procurement. She wants to understand how he thinks, how he sees problems, how he invents solutions from nothing. A sapiens woman watches a Neanderthal man predict weather by reading cloud patterns and animal behavior. He's right every time. He knows things she doesn't. Things her people haven't learned yet. Things that require generations of observation and pattern recognition. She wants that knowledge. She wants access to that mind. And wanting knowledge from someone is dangerously close to wanting them. This is the innovation threshold. The moment where difference becomes attractive instead of threatening. Where the exotic mind becomes the desired mind. Where breeding with the stranger isn't just genetic diversity, it's cognitive diversity. And cognitive diversity might be the most powerful evolutionary advantage of all. What happens next proves it. Because the children of these unions won't just be hybrids. They'll be something neither species could have created alone. One skeleton changes everything. She's 13 years old when she dies. Her mother was Neanderthal. Her father was Denisovan. And both parents had sapiens ancestry. Her bones were found in Denisova Cave in Siberia. Scientists named her Denny. She proves this wasn't a one-time accident. This was a pattern, a recurring event. A forbidding relationship repeated across continents and millennia. The genetic dating tells us when. Between 50,000 and 60,000 years ago. The location tells us where. The Middle East, modern Israel, Lebanon, Iraq, Syria. This is the crossroads. The boundary between Neanderthal Europe and Sapiens Africa. The neutral territory where both species can survive. Where seasonal migrations force overlap. Where contact becomes inevitable. Picture the geography. The Levant is warmer than Ice Age Europe. Mediterranean climate, forests, grasslands, abundant game. Neanderthals have been here for thousands of years. Small populations. Scattered bands. Then sapiens arrive from Africa. More numerous. More mobile. Both species want the same caves. The same water sources. The same hunting grounds. Conflict should have been immediate. But something else happens first. First visual contact probably happens at distance. A Neanderthal hunting party spots sapiens smoke on the horizon. They approach cautiously, stop at the ridgeline, watch from cover. The sapiens notice them, stand and stare. Neither group attacks, neither group flees, just mutual observation, sizing each other up. Recognition dawning. These aren't animals. These aren't us. These are something in between. Communication begins without language, gestures. A raised hand means peace. Empty hands mean no weapons. A gift placed on neutral ground means trade. Archaeological sites show evidence of exchange. Sapiens obsidian tools found in Neanderthal sites. Neanderthal crafted items found in sapiens camps. They're trading, which means they're meeting. which means they're negotiating, which means they're interacting peacefully enough for commerce. But commerce isn't intimacy. Somewhere the line gets crossed. Maybe it happens during a joint hunt. Adrenaline and endorphins flooding both groups. Celebrating a kill together. Sharing meat. Sharing fire. Someone makes eye contact across the flames. Holds it too long. Smiles. That's how it starts. Not with force. Not with strategy. With a smile that says, I see you. I like what I see. Maybe it happens during a healing crisis. A sapiens child gets injured. Neanderthal medicine saves them. The mother is grateful. Overwhelmingly grateful. The Neanderthal healer stays to monitor recovery. Days turn to weeks. Proximity becomes familiarity. Familiarity becomes comfort. Comfort becomes attachment. Before anyone plans it, bonds form. Maybe it happens through exile. A young Neanderthal male challenges his band leader, loses, gets driven out. He wanders alone for weeks, starving. Desperate, encounters a sapiens band. They don't kill him. They're curious. They've never seen his kind up close. He's useful, strong, knows the terrain. They let him stay. One of their females finds him fascinating, exotic, powerful. Different from the males she's known her whole life. The first hybrid conception probably felt like any other. No one knew they were making history. They just knew attraction, desire, the universal human drive to connect, to touch, to merge. 9 months later, a child is born. Half Neanderthal, half sapiens. Neither species has seen this before. The features are mixed, blended, strange, but beautiful. Does the child survive? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. Hybrid fertility is always a genetic gamble. But here's what the DNA proves. It worked enough times to matter. Neanderthal genes entered the sapiens population, spread, persisted, multiplied. We found more hybrid individuals than pure Neanderthal remains from this contact period. Read that again. More hybrids than purebloods. This wasn't rare. This wasn't accidental. This was systematic, repeated, widespread. The evidence suggests specific patterns. Neanderthal females breeding with sapiens males. The reverse happened too, but less frequently. Much less. We'll explore why later. For now, understand this. The genetic exchange was asymmetric, directed. And that direction tells a story about power, about choice, about consent, about what happens when one species is declining and another is ascending. Denny's skeleton is just one example. One hybrid we happened to find. How many others existed? How many died without leaving fossils? How many lived long enough to have children of their own? The mathematics of population genetics suggests thousands, maybe tens of thousands. Hybrid individuals living across the Middle East and Europe for 20,000 years. Every time you fight off a virus today, you're using immune system genes from these unions. Every time you adapt to high altitude, you're using Neanderthal oxygen processing genes. Every time you feel pain sensitivity, that's Neanderthal neural pathways. They're not extinct, they're new. Because 50,000 years ago in a cave in the Levant, two people from two different species decided boundaries didn't matter. And they were right? But romance in war zones comes with consequences. Tribal elders on both sides are watching, and they don't approve. Because every cave matters, every hunting ground matters, every water source matters, and the stranger who shares your bed might be stealing your children's future. Overlapping hunting territories create constant friction. Both species need the same prey: reindeer, bison, horses, wild cattle. When herds migrate through a valley, both groups track them. Both groups want the kill. Sometimes they coordinate, share the meat, walk away satisfied. Other times they arrive simultaneously. Spears get raised. Threats get made. Someone has to back down. Someone has to go hungry. Cave occupation is zero-sum mathematics. The best caves face south. Get maximum sunlight. Stay dry in storms. Have defensible entrances. Both species know which caves are premium real estate. A sapiens band arrives at a cave in autumn. Needs shelter before winter. Finds Neanderthals already inside. What happens next depends on numbers, on diplomacy, on whether anyone is willing to share. Usually not. Usually someone leaves. Sometimes someone dies. Water sources during dry periods become flashpoints. A drought hits. 3 bands converge on the last spring in the region. 2 Neanderthal groups. 1 sapiens group. Tension crackles. Children cry from thirst. Adults finger weapons. Nobody wants violence, but nobody will abandon water. Negotiations happen through gestures, threats, displays of force. Maybe they establish a rotation. Maybe the strongest group claims monopoly. Maybe blood spills into the spring. Tool material quarries matter more than people realize. High-quality flint is rare. Obsidian even rarer. These materials produce the sharpest tools, the best weapons, the difference between successful and failed hunts. Both species know where the good stone is. Both species need it. Archaeological sites show evidence of quarry control, territorial marking, defensive positions. This is economic warfare, resource monopoly, industrial advantage. Stolen kills breed revenge cycles that last generations. A Neanderthal hunting party wounds a mammoth, tracks it for hours, finally corners it. Then a sapiens band appears, delivers the killing strike, claims the meat. Technically they earned it. Practically they stole it. The Neanderthals remember. Next time they see sapiens, they retaliate. Take their kill. The cycle begins. Theft, counter-theft, escalation, blood. Female scarcity drives male competition to violence. In small populations, reproductive age females are precious. A Neanderthal band might have 3 eligible females, 10 competing males. The mathematics guarantee conflict. Then a sapiens male appears, attractive, exotic. The females show interest. The Neanderthal males see their genetic future vanishing. They respond with aggression, intimidation, sometimes murder. Protecting reproductive access isn't cruelty. It's evolutionary logic. Archaeological violence evidence is undeniable. Skulls with impact trauma, spear points embedded in bones, healed fractures suggesting survived attacks, mass grave sites indicating group conflict. The dead don't show species preference. Neanderthals killed sapiens. Sapiens killed Neanderthals. Both killed hybrids caught between worlds. Violence was constant, expected, normalized. But here's the complexity. The same bands fighting over resources sometimes interbreed. The same male threatening you in autumn might be fathering your child by spring. Tribal boundaries aren't species boundaries. A Neanderthal band might welcome Sapiens allies while warring with Neanderthal enemies. Politics is tribal. Attraction is individual. They don't always align. Remember those tight family bands from earlier? Bringing home an outsider wasn't just controversial. It was treason. You're introducing foreign genetics, foreign loyalties, foreign knowledge of your territory. If conflict erupts with their original tribe, whose side are they on? Can you trust them with your children? With your survival secrets? With your defenses? Mixed relationships become political weapons. A Sapiens male bonds with a Neanderthal female. Her band gains access to Sapiens trade networks, tool innovations, hunting strategies. But they also become targets. Other Neanderthal bands see them as collaborators, traitors, threats to Neanderthal survival. Political violence follows personal choice. Every intimate decision has tribal consequences. The children suffer most. Hybrid offspring belong nowhere. To Neanderthal for Sapiens bands. To Sapiens for Neanderthal bands. Some get accepted, integrated, loved. Others get rejected, abandoned, killed. The archaeological record suggests high hybrid infant mortality. Not from genetics, from social exclusion, from being caught between two species at war. This is the reality of forbidding relationships in survival contexts. Love doesn't conquer tribalism. It complicates it, creates new conflicts, new loyalties, new vulnerabilities. And as Neanderthal populations decline while Sapiens populations explode, the power dynamics shift. Romance becomes conquest. Cooperation becomes absorption. And the violence is about to get much worse. Some anthropologists won't say it out loud, but the DNA pattern tells a brutal story. Neanderthal men rarely succeeded in mating with Sapiens women, but Sapiens men frequently mated with Neanderthal women. This isn't romance. This is conquest. And the evidence of what happened next is written in bones and genes, and the silence where male Neanderthal DNA should be. Cima de los Huesos, the pit of bones, a cave in northern Spain. 28 Neanderthal skeletons at the bottom. Men, women, children, all killed violently. Skulls fractured, bones broken, bodies dumped together. This isn't burial. This is disposal. Someone massacred an entire band. We don't know who. But we know it happened 430,000 years ago, long before Sapiens arrived. Neanderthals were killing each other in organized violence for hundreds of thousands of years. When Sapiens enter the picture, the violence continues, intensifies, becomes interspecies. Weapon trauma on skeletons increases during the contact period. Defensive injuries, peri-fractures on forearms, healed skull wounds. These are survivors, the ones who lived through attacks, the ones who didn't leave fossils. They died and decomposed and left no trace. But they existed, thousands of them. Maybe tens of thousands. Territorial murder follows predictable patterns. Small groups are vulnerable. A lone Neanderthal hunter encounters 3 Sapiens warriors. He runs. They chase. He doesn't make it home. His band finds his body days later. Spear wounds, stripped of tools and weapons. This isn't hunting accident. This is execution. The same scenario plays reverse. 3 Neanderthal males find 1 Sapiens female gathering plants. She screams. Nobody hears. Her band searches for weeks. Never finds her. Male competition violence centers on reproductive access. A Neanderthal female chooses a Sapiens male over local options. Her rejected Neanderthal suitors don't accept defeat. They ambush the couple, kill the Sapiens male. The female watches. She's pregnant with his child. The Neanderthal males don't care, or they care too much. They force her to return. The hybrid child is born, survives, carries genetic evidence of this violence forward. Abduction theories are controversial, but evidenced. The genetic data shows asymmetry. Neanderthal females breeding with Sapiens males. Rarely the reverse. Why? Consensual relationships don't produce this pattern. Balanced mutual attraction should show balanced genetic exchange. But it doesn't. One explanation is abduction. Sapiens males taking Neanderthal females by force. Keeping them. Breeding them. The women having no choice. No escape. No agency. Another explanation is demographics. Sapiens outnumber Neanderthals 10 to 1. Simple probability means more Sapiens males encounter Neanderthal females than reverse. More encounters mean more opportunities. More opportunities mean more matings. Consent might have varied. Sometimes yes, sometimes no, sometimes complicated. But the numbers favor Sapiens male genetics spreading. Hybrid offspring fate depends on which band accepts them. Sapiens bands are larger, more tolerant of diversity, more accustomed to integrating outsiders from distant trade networks. A half Neanderthal child might survive in a Sapiens band, might even thrive. But a half Sapiens child in a Neanderthal band? Different story. Smaller groups. Tighter genetics. Less tolerance for difference. These children face rejection, infanticide, abandonment. The genetic evidence confirms this. Male Neanderthal DNA is absent from modern human genomes. Completely absent. Not trace amounts. Not rare variants. 0. Something killed every male hybrid descended from Neanderthal fathers and Sapiens mothers. Every single one. Either they were sterile, or they were murdered, or they died before reproducing. The mathematics of extinction don't lie. Female Neanderthal DNA survived. It's in you right now, on your X chromosome. In your mitochondria. This tells us Neanderthal mothers had hybrid daughters who survived and reproduced, who integrated into Sapiens populations, who passed their genes forward, but their brothers didn't. Their sons didn't. Their male relatives vanished from the genetic record. What does this pattern mean? Some scientists suggest hybrid male sterility, genetic incompatibility making male hybrids infertile like mules. It's possible, common in species crosses. But there's another explanation. Selective infanticide. Sapiens bands keeping hybrid females. Useful for reproduction. Killing hybrid males. threats to pure sapiens dominance, eliminating competition before it matures. Genetic bottleneck events suggest genocide. Neanderthal populations crashed suddenly around 40,000 years ago. Not gradual decline, sudden collapse. The kind of population loss that comes from catastrophe, plague, climate disaster, or systematic killing. We can't prove which, but the timing matches sapiens' expansion into Europe. We arrive, they vanish. The correlation is undeniable. Was this love, rape, or survival? The evidence supports all three, simultaneously. Different encounters, different contexts, different power dynamics. Some Neanderthals and Sapiens genuinely bonded, protected each other, raised families together. Others were captured, forced, brutalized. Still others negotiated complex arrangements, trading intimacy for safety, for food, for tribal alliances. Human sexuality has always been complicated. Add species difference and survival desperation. The complexity becomes incomprehensible. What we know for certain is this: violence and intimacy coexisted. The same era producing hybrid children also produced mass graves. The same individuals capable of love were capable of murder. We want history to be simple. Good guys and bad guys. But genetics doesn't care about morality. It only records what worked, what survived, what passed forward. And what passed forward was Neanderthal female DNA in sapiens male bodies. That's the truth. Now we have to decide what it means. Right now, Neanderthal genes are fighting viruses in your body, shaping your skin color, influencing your pain tolerance. They lost the species war, but they won the genetic war. And the story of how we discovered this changes everything we thought we knew about human evolution. The Max Planck Institute for Evolutionary Anthropology in Leipzig, Germany. Svante Pääbo's team publishes the first complete Neanderthal genome. They extracted DNA from 40,000-year-old bones, sequenced it, compared it to modern humans, expected zero overlap, found something shocking instead. Match rates of 2.2% in non-African populations. We had Neanderthal DNA. We were hybrids. We always had been. The percentage breakdown tells a migration story. Sub-Saharan Africans have zero Neanderthal DNA. They never left Africa, never encountered Neanderthals. Their genetics are pure sapiens. Europeans have 2% average. East Asians have 0.5%. Some individuals hit 4%. A few rare cases reach 7%. These aren't errors. These are different contact events, different interbreeding episodes, different genetic legacies. East Asians have more Neanderthal DNA than Europeans. Why? Because they bred with Neanderthals twice, to separate contact zones. First in the Middle East during the initial out-of-Africa migration. Second in Central Asia as they moved east. Double exposure, double contribution. The genetics prove it. Specific Neanderthal gene variants appear only in Asian populations. Never in Europeans. Never in Africans. Geography is destiny. And destiny is written in chromosomes. Which genes survived tells us what mattered. Immune system genes dominate the Neanderthal contribution. HLA genes, the ones that recognize pathogens, fight infections, Neanderthals lived in Europe for 300,000 years, encountered every virus, every bacteria, every parasite the continent could produce. Their immune systems evolved resistance. When sapiens arrived from Africa, we had no immunity to European diseases. Breeding with Neanderthals gave us instant adaptation. Downloaded 300,000 years of immunity in one generation. Skin and hair genes are next. Fair skin, red hair, blonde hair. These are Neanderthal traits. They evolved for low-light environments. Northern Europe, short winters, long nights. Light skin maximizes vitamin D production from limited sunlight. Dark-skinned sapiens moving north needed this adaptation. Neanderthal genes provided it. Your pale cousin isn't just European. They're part Neanderthal. Literally altitude adaptation came from Neanderthals too. Tibetans have a specific gene variant that helps them process oxygen at extreme elevations. This gene is Neanderthal, not sapiens. Neanderthals never lived in Tibet, but they lived in high-altitude caves in Europe. Developed the genetics, passed them to sapiens. Those genes migrated to Asia, ended up in Tibet. Now they're keeping people alive at 15,000 feet. Evolution is collaboration, but fertility challenged these hybrids. Male hybrids show evidence of reduced fertility, possibly complete sterility. This is common in species crosses. Haldon's rule. When hybrid sexes differ in fertility, the heterogametic sex suffers. In mammals, males are XY, females 20. Male hybrids get incompatible X and Y chromosomes from different species. The genetics clash. Sperm production fails. The males are sterile, or nearly sterile. This explains the missing male Neanderthal DNA. Female hybrids had better success. Their 20 chromosomes could compensate for incompatibilities. They remained fertile, reproduced successfully, passed Neanderthal genes forward. This created a genetic filter. Only maternal Neanderthal DNA survived. Only genes that could pass through females. The Y chromosome vanished. Mitochondrial DNA diluted. But autosomal genes persisted. Genetic incompatibility wasn't absolute. Some hybrid males reproduced. We know because Neanderthal DNA exists on non-sex chromosomes, autosomes. These can only pass through successful male reproduction. The success rate was low, maybe 10%, maybe less, but it happened. Enough times to matter, enough times to change us. Successful hybrid lineages showed founder effects. A few hybrid individuals became ancestors to large populations. Their Neanderthal genes spread widely, multiplied, became common. This is why we all share similar Neanderthal gene segments. We're descended from the same few successful hybrids. The ones who survived. The ones who thrived. The ones who became us. Your personal Neanderthal ancestry is noble. Companies like 23 and can tell you exactly how much Neanderthal DNA you carry. Most people have 2-4%, but some have none. Some have 7%. The variation comes from your specific ancestry, your geographic origins, your family history. You're not equally human as your neighbor. You're differently human. And that difference came from forbidden relationships 50,000 years ago. They weren't exterminated. They were loved to death, absorbed, diluted, until pure Neanderthals simply ceased to exist. And the collapse begins so gradually that nobody notices until it's too late to stop. 40,000 years ago, something shifts. Neanderthal population numbers start declining. Archaeological sites become sparser. Fewer camps, fewer tools, fewer bones. The genetic evidence shows bottlenecking, reduced diversity, inbreeding signatures intensifying, small populations getting smaller, isolated groups becoming more isolated. The mathematics of extinction engage, and mathematics are merciless. Climate change favors sapiens. The Ice Age is ending, glaciers retreating, Europe warming. This should help Neanderthals. They've survived multiple glacial cycles, but warming brings different challenges. The megafauna they specialized in hunting start disappearing. Mammoth populations crash. Woolly rhinos decline. Their primary food sources vanish. Meanwhile, sapiens adapt rapidly. We shift to smaller game, fish, birds, plant foods. Our flexibility becomes decisive advantage. Birth rate disparities become extinction factors. Neanderthal females reproduce every 4 to 5 years. Long intervals between children. High investment in each offspring. Low total fertility. Sapiens females reproduce every 3 years. Shorter intervals. More children. Higher total fertility. Over generations, this compounds. A Neanderthal woman has 4 children in her lifetime. A sapiens woman has 6. That 2-child difference multiplies across populations. After 10 generations, sapiens outnumber Neanderthals 20 to 1. Hybrid vigor appears in the first generation. Half Neanderthal, half sapiens children are often healthier than pure individuals. Stronger immune systems, better genetic diversity, fewer recessive disorders. They survive childhood at higher rates, reach reproductive age more frequently. This gives them selective advantage. But it's a trap, because hybrid vigor is absorption wearing a friendly face. Outbreeding depression hits later generations. Second and third generation hybrids start showing problems. Genetic incompatibilities express. Developmental disorders appear. Fertility drops. The initial advantage reverses, but by then it's too late. Pure Neanderthals are too rare to maintain viable populations. The genetics are scrambled. The species boundary has collapsed. Territory loss follows population loss. Neanderthals retreat from prime locations. The best caves, the richest hunting grounds. Sapiens take them, not always through violence. Sometimes through simple demographic pressure. A sapiens band of 50 displaces a Neanderthal band of 15 through sheer presence. No fight necessary, just numbers, just inevitability. Last mixed settlements appear in Western Europe, Iberia, southern France. The archaeological record shows both species living in close proximity, sometimes in the same caves. Different layers, different time periods, but overlapping, mixing, trading, interbreeding. These are the final contact zones. The last places where pure Neanderthals exist alongside sapiens and hybrids. Croatia shows evidence of late survival. Vindiger Cave contains Neanderthal remains dated to 30,000 years ago. These are some of the youngest pure Neanderthal specimens. The DNA shows they're inbred, low diversity, small population, but they're surviving, holding on, resisting absorption, fighting demographics with determination. It's not enough. The genetic absorption theory explains what happens next. You don't need to kill a species to eliminate it. You just need to breed with it consistently. Every time a Neanderthal mates with a Sapiens, their children are half Neanderthal. Every time those hybrids mate with Sapiens, their children are quarter Neanderthal. Every generation, the Neanderthal percentage drops. After 10 generations, it's less than 1%. After 20, it's trace amounts. The species doesn't die, it dissolves. Remember Denny from earlier? That hybrid girl with 4 different ancestries? This is what her DNA shows. By the late contact period, ancestry is chaos. Pure lineages are rare. Everyone is mixed. Everyone carries fragments of multiple populations. Species boundaries become meaningless. You can't maintain a species when everyone is interbreeding with everyone else. Biology doesn't care about labels. It only cares about reproduction. And reproduction was erasing Neanderthals one generation at a time. The final Neanderthal populations are ghosts of what they were. A few isolated bands in remote locations, clinging to traditional territories, avoiding sapiens, avoiding hybrids, avoiding the inevitable. They watch their world transform around them. Watch their children look more sapiens every generation. Watch their culture fade. Watch their species die in slow motion. They can't stop it. You can't outbreed demographics when you're outnumbered 50 to 1. You can't maintain genetic purity when your only mates are cousins. You can't preserve culture when there's no next generation to teach. The mathematics are final. The biology is unforgiving. The collapse that began 40,000 years ago accelerates into free fall. And somewhere in Gibraltar, the last pure Neanderthal is about to be born. Gibraltar, the last refuge, 28,000 years before the present. The southern tip of Europe where the Mediterranean meets the Atlantic. Limestone cliffs rising from warm waters. Caves facing the sun. This is where they make their final stand. Not through choice, through elimination. Everywhere else is gone. The archaeological evidence from Gurham's cave tells the story. Neanderthal occupation layers dating to 28,000 BCE. Tools, hearths, food remains. They're still here, still surviving. Still maintaining their culture. The Mousterian tool tradition persists. The same techniques their ancestors used 100,000 years ago. Continuity in the face of extinction. Tradition when everything else is chaos. Genetic analysis of late Neanderthal populations reveals the crisis. Incredibly low diversity. Everyone is related. Closely related. The kind of genetic signatures you see in species on the edge of extinction. Island populations. Zoo animals. The last members of a dying lineage. They're inbreeding not by choice, but by mathematical necessity. There's nobody else left. Why Gibraltar? Geography provides partial refuge. It's remote. Difficult to reach overland. The climate is warmer than northern Europe. Mediterranean vegetation, abundant seafood, marine mammals, shellfish, resources that don't depend on megafauna herds. Resources Neanderthals can exploit without competing directly with sapiens. It's not paradise. It's a last resort, but it works. For a while, other final sites exist simultaneously. Zafaria Cave in southern Spain. 27,000 years ago. Neanderthal remains and tools. They're holding multiple refuges. Small populations separated by mountains. Unable to interbreed. Each group facing extinction independently. Some die first. Others last longer. But all face the same fate. The shrinking population creates cascading failures. Young males can't find unrelated mates. They leave, search for females in other bands. Many never return, die traveling, get killed by sapiens, disappear. The home population skews female. Birth rates crash further. Each loss accelerates the next. Demographic death spiral. Cultural persistence despite demographic collapse is remarkable. These final Neanderthals maintain tool-making traditions. They're still hunting, still creating fire, still burying their dead. They're not degraded remnants. They're fully functional humans facing impossible odds. Their culture isn't dying because it's inferior. It's dying because there's nobody left to practice it. Final contact with sapiens raises haunting questions. Did the last Neanderthals see sapiens? Almost certainly. Sapiens occupied Iberia by 30,000 years ago. Close enough to Gibraltar for contact. Did they trade? Did they fight? Did they interbreed one last time? The archaeological record doesn't answer, but human nature suggests all three happened. Even at the end, interaction continued. Some researchers argue the last Neanderthals chose extinction through interbreeding, that they saw sapiens' dominance, saw their own decline, made conscious decisions to breed with sapiens rather than cousins, chose hybrid children over inbred children, chose absorption over isolation. If true, this is the most heartbreaking decision in human history, choosing to erase yourself to give your children a chance. Others argue they had no choice, that sapiens took Neanderthal women, that late period interbreeding was coercive, that the genetic evidence of sapiens-Neanderthal mixing continuing until the end reflects violence, not romance, that the last pure Neanderthals died watching their daughters disappear into sapiens bands, unable to stop it, unable to save their species. The loneliness must have been crushing. Imagine being one of 15 Neanderthals left in Gibraltar. You know you're among the last. You've heard stories of other bands. Your parents remembered when Neanderthals were common, when meeting another band was normal, expected. Now you're isolated, alone. You see sapiens regularly. They outnumber you hundreds to one. Your children look more like them every generation. You're watching yourself disappear. Did they know they were the last? Did they understand species extinction? Or did they just feel loss without comprehending scope? We project modern awareness onto ancient people. They probably just knew loneliness, knew their world was changing, knew something important was ending, but couldn't name it, couldn't stop it, could only endure it until they couldn't anymore. Somewhere in these final caves, the last pure Neanderthal child is born, last of an evolutionary lineage 500,000 years old, last representative of humanity's sibling species. They don't know they're last. They just know warmth, milk, mother's heartbeat. The same experiences every human child knows. But they're the final one. And when they die decades later, 300,000 years of Neanderthal evolution ends with them. She doesn't know she's the last, but she knows something is wrong. Her features mark her. Children stare. She is a ghost of an extinct world. And when she dies, 300,000 years of evolution dies with her. She's probably female. The genetic evidence suggests females survived longer. Males disappeared first, killed in conflicts, dying on hunts, failing to find mates, leaving by choice to search for females that don't exist. The women stayed, raised children, maintained camps, endured, outlasted. So the last Neanderthal is almost certainly a woman. She's probably in Iberia, Gibraltar, or southern Spain. The last archaeological evidence clusters here. 28,000 years ago. Maybe 27,000. The dating isn't perfect. Carbon-14 has limits. But somewhere in this window, she exists. The final pure Neanderthal, living in a world that's already moved past her species. Her world is dominated by sapiens. They're everywhere. Their camps dot every valley. Their smoke rises from every ridge. Their voices carry on the wind. Their children play on beaches. Their hunters track the same game she does. She can't avoid them. They're too numerous, too widespread, too successful. They are the future. She is the past. What does she look like? Robust skeleton, heavy bones, pronounced brow ridge, large nose, pale skin, red or blonde hair. Features that clearly mark her as different. Not subtly different. Obviously different. When she encounters sapiens, they see instantly what she is. The recognition in their eyes, curiosity, sometimes pity, sometimes fear, sometimes desire. She's exotic, rare, the last of her kind even if they don't realize it. Her band is gone. Maybe they died. Maybe they integrated into sapiens groups. Maybe she's the only one who refused. Who insisted on staying pure, staying Neanderthal, maintaining tradition. Now she pays the price. Isolation. No mates. No future. Just existence without continuation. Does she have children? Probably. She's reached reproductive age. Someone fathered them. Probably a sapiens male. No pure Neanderthal males remain. So her children are hybrids. They look more sapiens than Neanderthal. They integrate into sapiens bands easily. She watches them leave. Watches them choose sapiens identity over Neanderthal. Can't blame them. The mathematics are obvious. Choose the winning side. Choose survival. Choose the future that doesn't include her. Her daily life is routine punctuated by grief. She wakes in her cave. The same cave her grandmother used. Her great-grandmother. Generations of Neanderthal women lived here. Gave birth here. Died here. She maintains traditions. Uses Mousterian tools. Makes fire the old way. Cooks food using ancient techniques. It's all she knows. All she wants to know. The modern sapiens innovations don't interest her. She's not resisting change. She's mourning loss. She hunts alone. Gathers alone. Processes hides alone. Sometimes sapiens offer to help. Sometimes she accepts, sometimes she refuses. Depends on her mood, her energy, her willingness to engage with the species replacing hers. It's exhausting, being constantly reminded of your obsolescence, of your isolation, of your impending extinction. Sapiens men still approach her, offer companionship, offer mating. She's exotic, rare, the last pure example of ancient humanity. Some want her out of curiosity, some out of genuine attraction, some out of conquest mentality. She refuses most, accepts occasionally, when loneliness overwhelms, when the silence becomes unbearable, when she needs reminder that she's still human, still desirable, still alive. She remembers stories her mother told her about when Neanderthals were common, when meeting another band was normal, when mates were plentiful, when their people stretched from Spain to Siberia. Now those stories sound like myths, like impossible fantasies, like tales from another world. Because they are. That world is dead. She's the last witness. Does she understand extinction? Does she comprehend that she's the last? Probably not in those terms. She doesn't have the conceptual framework, but she understands loss, understands isolation, understands being last. She feels it in her bones, in her DNA, in the silence where her people's voices should be. We almost found her. In 2016, researchers analyzed bones from Gurns Cave in Gibraltar, extracted DNA, dated it 28,400 years ago. Pure Neanderthal. No hybrid signature. She was real. She was there, living in that cave, breathing that air, watching the Mediterranean, feeling the sun. Being the last, the day she dies, nobody notices. She's alone. Maybe illness, maybe injury, maybe old age. She lies down in her cave, closes her eyes, stops breathing. No ceremony, no burial, no witnesses, just silence. The final Neanderthal becomes still, and 500,000 years of parallel human evolution ends. Except it doesn't, because she's in you. Her grandmother's grandmother's DNA passed through hybrid daughters, through sapiens Neanderthal unions, through 1,000 generations of genetic inheritance. She's not extinct. She's dormant, sleeping in your chromosomes, fighting your infections, shaping your features, influencing your thoughts. The last Neanderthal died 28,000 years ago, but she never left. She just changed form, became you, became us, became human. They didn't lose because they were dumb. They didn't lose because they were weak. They lost because they fell in love with us. And love, in evolutionary terms, is absorption, is dissolution, is genetic surrender disguised as intimacy. Start with population numbers. Neanderthals were always outnumbered. At their peak, maybe 70,000 individuals across all of Europe and Western Asia. Compare that to early sapiens, hundreds of thousands in Africa alone. When we migrated out, we brought numbers, demographic weight. By the time significant contact begins, sapiens outnumber Neanderthals 10 to 1. In some regions, 50 to 1. You can't win a species competition when you're that outnumbered. The mathematics are final. Reproduction rates sealed the outcome. Neanderthal females gave birth every 4 to 5 years. Long intervals. High parental investment. Each child received intensive care. Extended childhood. Slow maturation. This works in stable environments. In competition with faster breeding species, it's suicide. Sapiens females reproduced every 3 years. Shorter intervals. More children. Less investment per child. Higher childhood mortality, but higher total output. Over generations, this 10% difference compounds into extinction. Social network size determined innovation speed. Remember those bigger brains from earlier? Didn't matter. Neanderthals lived in bands of 10 to 30. Small social groups. Limited information exchange. When someone invented something, it stayed local. Died with them. No transmission networks. Sapiens maintained networks of 50 to 150 individuals, with long-distance trade connections spanning hundreds of miles. When we invented something, it spread, improved, evolved. We didn't outthink Neanderthals individually. We outthought them collectively. Networks beat neurons. Climate adaptation became vulnerability. Neanderthals were Ice Age specialists. 300,000 years of evolution for cold climates. Short, robust builds. Large noses. High caloric needs. Perfect for glacial Europe. Then the climate warmed. Glaciers retreated. Megafauna disappeared. Their specialization became liability. Meanwhile, Sapiens came from tropical Africa. We were generalists, adapted to warm and cold, flexible. When the environment changed, we changed with it. They couldn't. Evolution had locked them into Ice Age morphology. Genetic diversity crisis created fragility. Small populations mean limited genetic variation. Inbreeding increases. Harmful recessive genes express. Immune systems weaken. Fertility drops. Birth defects rise. Neanderthal populations show all these signatures. They needed genetic rescue. Fresh DNA. Outcrossing. They got it through sapiens interbreeding. But that rescue was also absorption. The cure killed them differently than the disease would have. Interbreeding was the extinction mechanism nobody predicted. It looks like success. Hybrid children. Genetic exchange. Species cooperation. But it's asymmetric warfare wearing a friendly mask. Every Neanderthal who bred with sapiens produced half Neanderthal children. Those children bred with sapiens, producing quarter Neanderthal grandchildren. Each generation, the Neanderthal fraction halved. After 10 generations, less than 1% remains. After 20, its trace amounts invisible without DNA sequencing. The brutal mathematics of absorption work like this. Start with 10,000 Neanderthals and 100,000 sapiens. 10% of Neanderthals breed with sapiens each generation. Produce 1,000 hybrids. Those hybrids preferentially breed with sapiens, because sapiens are 90% of available mates. After 5 generations, pure Neanderthals are under 5,000. After 10 generations, under 1,000. After 15, they're gone, dissolved into the sapiens population. Genetically present, but species absent. They couldn't stop it even if they understood it. Refuse to breed with sapiens, then breed with cousins. Face inbreeding depression. Watch children die from genetic disorders. Choose extinction through isolation instead of absorption. Kill sapiens on sight? They outnumber you 50 to 1. You lose through violence faster than through love. Integrate completely, lose your identity, your culture, your species status. Every option leads to extinction, just different timelines. The final calculation is population replacement rate. To maintain stable population, each female needs to produce to surviving children, replace herself and her mate. Neanderthals were below replacement rate by 40,000 BCE, each generation smaller than the last. Sapiens were above replacement rate, each generation larger. The gap widened exponentially. By 30,000 BCE, the outcome was mathematically certain. By 28,000 BCE, it was complete. They lost because evolution is numbers, is adaptation speed, is network effects, is reproduction rates, is luck. They were unlucky enough to face a competitor that matched their intelligence, but exceeded their flexibility, that matched their strength but exceeded their endurance, that shared their humanity but weaponized it through demographics. They lost because we were similar enough to breed with but different enough to replace, and that narrow overlap was fatal. They didn't lose because they were inferior. They lost because they were compatible. And compatibility with a more numerous species is another word for extinction. Every time you fight off a virus, a Neanderthal woman from 50,000 years ago is protecting you. Every time you feel pain, her genes are speaking. She's not extinct. She's in you. And the forbidden relationship that created you is the most important event in human history that nobody talks about. Your Neanderthal genes are doing specific work right now. HLA-B*73, an immune system gene, pure Neanderthal origin. It helps you fight off viruses. Without it, you'd be more vulnerable to infections, more susceptible to disease, less likely to survive. This gene exists because a sapiens ancestor bred with a Neanderthal, inherited immunity, passed it forward. Now it's protecting you during flu season. The COVID-19 pandemic revealed another Neanderthal gift, a specific gene cluster on chromosome 3, Neanderthal origin. It reduces severe COVID symptoms by 20%. People with this variant were less likely to need hospitalization, less likely to die. A 50,000-year-old genetic inheritance saved lives in 2020. The forbidden relationship had consequences neither species predicted. Some of them are keeping you alive today. Pain tolerance links to Neanderthal genes. The SCN9A gene variant. It affects how your nerves transmit pain signals. People with the Neanderthal version have higher pain thresholds, feel less discomfort from the same stimulus. This probably helped Neanderthals endure Ice Age Europe, survive injuries that would incapacitate us. Now it's helping you tolerate dental work, survive migraines, endure chronic conditions. Their pain became your resilience. Red hair comes from Neanderthals. The MC1R gene variant. It produces red pigment instead of brown. Pale skin, freckles, light sensitivity. This is Neanderthal phenotype expressing in modern humans. When you see a red head, you're seeing 300,000 years of Ice Age evolution. Seeing adaptation to low-light environments. Seeing genetic legacy of forbidden unions. They're more Neanderthal than most people realize, literally. Altitude adaptation in Tibetans traces to Neanderthals. The EPAS1 gene. It helps process oxygen at extreme elevations. Neanderthals never lived in Tibet, but they lived at high altitudes in Europe. Evolved the genetics, passed them to sapiens. Those genes migrated to Asia, ended up in Tibetan populations. Now they're keeping people alive at 15,000 feet. Genetic inheritance crossing continents and millennia, all from interbreeding events 50,000 years ago. But Neanderthal genes aren't all beneficial. Depression risk correlates with Neanderthal DNA percentage. The correlation is controversial, not proven, but multiple studies suggest links. Why? Possibly because Neanderthal and Sapiens brain chemistry didn't integrate perfectly. The genes work but create side effects. Mental health vulnerability, emotional dysregulation, the price of hybridization paid in psychological pain. Type 2 diabetes shows Neanderthal associations. Specific gene variants increase risk. These genes probably helped Neanderthals store fat efficiently. Survival advantage in Ice Age Europe. Long winters, food scarcity. Efficient fat storage meant survival. In modern environments with constant food availability, the same genes cause metabolic disease. Evolutionary advantage becomes modern liability. Context matters. Genes don't know what century they're in. 2-3, and it can tell you exactly how much Neanderthal DNA you have. Most people carry 2-4%, but the range is 0 to 7%. Some individuals have none. Pure sapiens genetics. Sub-Saharan African ancestry. Others have 7%. Maximum Neanderthal inheritance. Multiple independent admixture events. Different contact zones. Different time periods. You're not equally human as everyone else. You're differently human, and that difference defines you in ways you never realized. The percentage matters less than which genes you inherited. Two people with identical percentages might have completely different Neanderthal genes. One person's Neanderthal DNA could be all immune system genes. Another's could be all metabolic genes. Another's could be neurological. The specific inheritance determines how Neanderthal influences you. Your immunity, your appearance, your health risks, your pain response, your brain chemistry, all shaped by ancient relationships. This story isn't ancient history. It's personal biology. It's your immune system fighting infections right now. Your neurons processing pain right now. Your genes regulating metabolism right now. The Neanderthals aren't dead ancestors in museums. They're living code in your cells. Active, functional, influential. Every day they shape your existence. And you never knew. If this story changed how you see yourself, let me know. That's what this channel is for. Rewriting history, revealing hidden truths, connecting ancient events to modern life. Because history isn't dead facts. It's living inheritance. It's genes and culture, and identity transmitted across time. And understanding where you came from changes who you are. Next week we're covering the Denisovans, the third species we bred with. The mysterious ghost population that gave Pacific Islanders diving adaptations. The ones who lived alongside Neanderthals and Sapiens and interbred with both. The species that appears in your DNA but left almost no fossils. If you thought the Neanderthal story was complex, wait until you see what the Denisovans reveal. We didn't conquer Neanderthals. We loved them. We absorbed them. We became them. And that forbidden relationship, it's why you're alive. It's why you're watching this. It's why you're human. Not despite the mixing. Because of it. We're not pure sapiens. We never were. We're hybrids. Products of forbidden love. Children of two species. And that makes us more human, not less. Because humanity was never one thing. It was always multiple things learning to become one. Through violence. Through cooperation. Through intimacy. Through the messy, complicated, beautiful process of becoming us.